What lies ahead in 2026, the year of the unicorn? Nay! More liquidity, interest rate cuts. Is there going to be a black swan 4-year cycle? Soy boy Jeters believe next year's going to be a bear market. This, friends, this gentleman, I've made videos on him before. Mick Howell. I've made many videos on him. He's like the godfather of liquidity. So pretty much, Mick, what he did is friends, is like a TradFi boomer dude. So he grabbed all the US government and the central bank all around the world, their balance sheets, the pluses and the minuses and the assets, and he plotted them. And then he noticed an interesting correlation between the plots of them and markets. And he showed that they're cyclical, and when they do the balance sheet expansion stuff, stocks rise even more, liquidity goes up into the system, and they really understand all the plumbing of it. So Michael Howell is the original creator of the global liquidity models and charts. He believes we are now entering the speculation phase of the cycle in 2026. What do you baby dolls in my telegrams as well? Swami, should I subscribe to any of these? Nah, don't waste your time, friend. Don't waste your time, because these guys, you got to think this is, it's big macro picture stuff. Okay, it's nice. It's nice that, but you got to remember as well, these people are mega diversified, and because they're playing with other people's money. You know, some people play with other people's lollipops, pegs, pokeballs. This guy plays with other people's money. And it's not like he has amazing returns. I don't even know what the returns are, but it's big picture stuff, you know. That's why, friends, everybody's got a different talent. Some of these guys, they're not great investors, right? Because they get emotionally hit by buying low and stuff. It get very, very tough. They're not the best investors, but they're really good at this big macro picture stuff. They can give you, they can create the long-term indicators that we need to actually pump it in the future. Oh yeah. Remember, it's all about the long-term indicators anyway, right? If the most amount of money is made long-term, therefore, the most valuable thing is a long-term indicator. It's the indicator or indicators or indicators that tell you stay long at all costs. Stay long at all costs. Okay? So next is speculation phase. This is where the Fed injections of liquidity will end up being inflationary hot. Hot. You like that, baby? Hot. Hot pizza, hot kettle, hot chocolate. We love them hot. Except orange juice. We love that cold. So inflationary hot economy is most likely what Trump's going to be running. Remember, friends, we've got Kevin Hassett, Kevy Boo. He's going to be the major loser replacement. And he thinks rates should be lower. And they're probably going to do yield curve control. So they're going to let the economy run hot. And it makes sense as well. We're going to probably see a big boom of AI go exponential. They've got to build the robots. They're building that. Well, the first thing they're building is the brains of everything, the data centers, the AI data centers. Remember, Mike Novogratz, everyone's getting in on that. Everyone's going to try cash in on big on that. And remember, that's going to just, be building the brains, all the chipsets, NVIDIA, obviously all the obvious ones of infrastructure. That's really going to be the foundational work for what's to come after that, where we start making the robots and they get all the materials and everything out here. And that's probably going to be CPI high, right? The Kippy will be higher, but probably not for our food and stuff. It'll just be a hot economy. That's what I think. That's what the politicians said they're going to be doing. Okay, this probably happens alongside the US government pumping heavy AI investments, capex, capital expenditure, and the long-awaited manufacturing boom. So melt up. So here you have, friends, Mick Howell. He has these cycles, the global liquidity cycle. So it's literally around 5.5 years. That's the average, okay? 5.5 years, about 4 to 4.5 years up, 1 year down. That's it. So pretty much that's what it's been cyclically like this since 1965, okay? And the reason for this is the average US, not just US, average world government bond duration is 5.5 years. That's pretty much it. That's the only thing. They grab all the numbers. They go, okay, the average duration is 5.5 years. That's how the government makes money, right? They supply bonds to the market. They give you a yield. People give them money. And they go and they spend, right? So right now, if you look at it, remember we went up, but there's been no delay, friends. That's a crazy part. So in the past, so this is when Bitcoin was around, since 2008, right? Whenever this part came up, and up and even here. So every time there was these periods here. So actually, here's a 2013 cycle. Here's 2017. Here's 2021. Okay. So every time there were the little upticks of liquidity. You know what's actually funny, friends? I just noticed. Look at 2017. This is very interesting. I didn't know this. This is very, very, very interesting, friends. We know 2017 as the biggest old season renaissance cycle for crypto. But 2017, the liquidity was actually going down. Very interesting. It just had like a little lower high spike up here. Whoa, that's actually big news. So in the past, you didn't need the liquidity to actually shoot all the way up. Because, okay, what we're getting out here, remember you see the business cycle, the PMI? Remember I show this to you all the time? Well, what happens is, okay, the first thing they do, that's why I've got my guiding forces of crypto up here that you can see as well. See how Bitcoin follows global M2? So that's why how it works is they print money, okay, and then units go around. But first, it's a cantillon effect. Goes to the banks, goes to big firms and stuff out here and governments or whatever. Okay, it does that part. But it hasn't seeped into Main Street yet. Once the big insiders, the big institutions, once they are healthy enough, then there's bread and circus given to the population. Okay? And that, my friends, moves alongside manufacturing heating up. All right? So we haven't seen that yet. So this is what it's never before happened, where they printed money and it's been 36 months and they're like, bro, where's manufacturing? What hasn't come up? Okay? But we're hoping that it's just, the US Fed being too tight, plus the volatility of the zombie virus and the interest rate hikes has made everybody too scared. So it takes a while for money to be basically seeped into the economy. Or that's what we're hoping it happens, okay? So what will 2026 bring for crypto? I'm staying long because I think crypto should be worth 10 trillion instead of 3 trillion. Okay, the whole industry, okay? This is me with a rocket launcher, the Resident Evil 1 rocket launcher, and this is a giant, evil soy boy bear, and all the people that run away, no, please, Tommy, please, Tommy, get your giant rocket launcher. That's what we're going to be doing out here. We're going to be blowing them to pieces, these massive liquidity injections out here. Isn't it interesting, in 2017, they didn't need that much liquidity. Why is that? Well, look, none of these are perfect, but in 2017, Trump came in, he cut rates huge, okay? See, there's a lot of these buttons they press. You don't know which one's going to have the most effect. If you did, you just wait until that button is pressed, and then you go all in. But markets aren't that simple. So Donald Trump, do you remember, friends, the tax rates for businesses was something stupid, it was like 35% or something, and he slashed it down to like 15 or something, or for 25. Remember, he slashed the business tax rate a huge amount. And from 35 down to 20, like a huge amount. He just cut taxes so hard. And that gave, after he defeated Hillary Clinton, that gave a big boost to the economy. And everybody was so optimistic, and the PMI went up. So, but right now, taxes, it's probably not the tax rate as much. Maybe now it's interest rates. You don't know what it's going to be every single time. Like I said, for you, if it was that easy to look at one variable and wait for that and know it each time, you'd never need to invest. You literally just trade. You wait for that button, go all in, go all out, but it's not like that. So most crypto influencers are bearish, friends. I've already accepted 2026 could be the 5th horrible year in a row for altcoins, but I am still positioned turbo long and ready for crypto to blow up. The US Fed's QT, friends, it's ended now. Okay, now the US Fed quantitative tightening. So Major Loser Powell's gorilla grip around their nuts. Please, Major Loser, no, please. He's finally let go. All right. So we now know, okay, 2026, it will have lower interest rates, probably yield curve control, as I explained that for you a short while ago as well, friends. So yield curve control, it is QE. But with QE, the big one is they print money and they buy the bonds. They print and they buy. They print and they buy. They print and they buy. Okay. Yield curve control is what they do is they print, but they leave a bid on one of the bonds. They say, hey, bond, you're not allowed to go under a 4% yield. Okay, and I showed this for you in a chart. I'll show it to you again. Here's the US government bond. This is the yield. Remember, as we go up, the yield goes down. I inverted the chart. Okay, so you can see how the bonds are priced. So what the US government, obviously they haven't announced it yet, but they probably will. If they do yield curve control, maybe Kevin says, hey, we're going to do yield curve control. The 10-year bond, you're not allowed to go under 4%, which is literally here. And then what you'll see is the market will go up and try to find the fair price. And if the economy is not as hot as they want, they will now bring it up. And they go, hey, you're not allowed to go under 3.5% yield. And this will go up as well. So you got to think, if the 10-year bond, it's trading at 4% yield now. You get 4% yield if you're holding for 10 years, right? If this goes to 3, that extra 1% yield on trillions of dollars, that's income they're not going to get anymore. So now they have to react, probably invest more. They take more punts. You know, they go into stocks guys go into crypto. That's how it all comes down. And actually, there's charts where crypto moves with the yield of the bonds. Okay, as the bond yield goes down, right, crypto goes up, right, which is this basic for risk assets. Bluey Bear, most crypto influencers are frauds, bro, and LARPing. Tricero, why do you think it's worth 10 trillion? Is it just because it's a nice round number? Mr. Tricero, great question. I'll show you. If you go to the total chart, it's actually the highest Fibonacci level by coincidence, okay? So I'll just show you here. 10 trillion, my friend, 10 trillion is, if you get the Fibonacci from the top to the bottom, all right, but you got to remove it off log. You got to put it on a linear chart. So I'll show it for you again. We'll draw it again. You get a Fibonacci, the macro fib from the top to the bottom, and it's right here. The highest fib is literally, actually you get the exact numbers. It's literally, for some reason, it literally lands exactly on 10. Which is just wild. It's a round number. It's 10 trillion. And it's just, yeah. I mean, it's bonkers that we actually have that. Look where we are down now. That's why we're still heading along this trend. That's why all the people saying it's over. Man, what a disaster. You know, like, to show you how big the world market caps are. Like, it's total difference. A big difference. We're so cheap. So ultimately, this is where I think crypto is headed. When we get to 10 trillion, you know, Raoul Powell says 100 trillion by 2030, but like, it has to go bonkers. Another thing about this as well, friends, this number gets inflated. Total includes stablecoins. So we've got 350 billion right now, yeah. So like, it's possible if we just get 2 trillion of stablecoins into crypto, yeah, you have 2 trillion of stablecoins in there, but your bag's didn't go up at all. They just minted 2 extra trillion. But you kind of think if they mint 2 trillion, there's more banks and firms and trading and perp dexes and cards and payment solutions and everything's growing bigger, okay? So it's not a direct one-for-one bag increase for us, but you would think that's all kind of part of the pie. So hopefully the liquidity injections continue for next year. Quantitative easing, let's see, year of the horsey complete. I would love to see that, friends. First, we like to let us watch it start. But remember, it starts in February, mid-February, okay? And there could be the final round of Year of the Snake that comes out. Remember, we have the MSCI FUD, the Morgan Soybeans Commodity Index, whatever, the calculations guys. Their official meeting ends January 15th, and we already know from Insider Scum that they're going to reject it. Because crypto started selling off immediately on the release of the report, but the report didn't say they're going to reject it. They said, we're going to have an open meeting, and we haven't made up our mind. So obviously, there's some insider there who knows that they're going to reject MicroStrategy and everything out here. But for the rest of us, Bitcoin dominance has a lot of room to go down lower. Don't forget, it loves you. Press like and subscribe. This is the highest value content in crypto. Catch you soon.